Welcome, everyone, to the Insurance Perspectives podcast. This is part two of our series on Agave. On today's show, we have Greg Mallon.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
It's good to have you back. And Aditya Mehta.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. If you missed part one of our series on Agave, please go back and give it a listen. You hear more from Greg, some really fantastic uh, personal answers about what Agave does and why they do it. For part two, we're going to turn our focus to a mutual customer of both HawkSoft and Agaves so that we can learn how Agave is used inside a real independent agency. For part two, we turn to a mutual customer of HawkSoft and Agaves to learn how Agave is used inside a real independent insurance agency. Our focus today is Aditya Mehta, the owner of All Coverage Insurance in Virginia. All Coverage Insurance started using HawkSoft in 2018, but it was actually founded a decade earlier in 2008 by our guest's father, uh, Chetan Mehta. Aditya's path in insurance started a little parallel to that, with a focus on implementing and guiding technology in the PNC and the life and annuity space. In 2021, Aditya's father passed away, and so he took over stewardship of All Coverage Insurance. And well, it's an unfortunate situation. It gives us an opportunity to kind of explore how second generation agency owners approach modernizing technology in their agencies, while also maintaining that quality of care and service. I've had the privilege and pleasure of meeting Aditya at a few Hug National conferences in the past, and I know he has an amazing head for technology in the insurance space. I'm super excited to dive into this conversation with him today. And I will note that while Agave did not send him a hat, it's obviously because he has the best hair of the three of us on this call. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that your barber has not up and left you and moved to New York. Um,
Correct.
so I'm super excited to dive into this. We have our customer questions, and they mirror the ones that we ask our partners in part one. As we started in part one, talking about Agave's story, Aditya, I would love to know your story and the all coverage insurance story. How long have you guys been in business? How many people work there? Do you specialize in anything particular? And then if you can tell us, like, what gets you excited about insurance?
Wow, that's a lot to unpack
Sorry.
in one question. So let me start with the agency. As you stated, the agency started in 2008 by my father, my late father. He was in the space for 30 years before that. Finally got tired of the captive, semi-captive market, and said, you know what, I really want to get into the independent space, so that I'm truly answerable just to the customers and not to carrier expectations. So that's kind of how he started in 2008. He started with a handful of carriers, focusing on commercial lines, personal lines. Grew out of that through his dedication and to excellence. Um, from there, we are now we have a footprint in about 18 states. We
Wow.
focus on the Mid Atlantic. We have six full time employees, two virtual agents. We've been on a journey for the last 3 years for modernization, to help streamline our operations, to better meet our customer needs, to better align our capability with the changing market. Um, and so that's what we've been focused on, and continue to operate under the principles of my father, which is transparency, exceptional service, and integrity and openness. So that's really still how the agency runs today.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that that's in nothing in there. Did you say sell another policy, bind another risk? Like that's inherent to what you do, but you focus on that transparency and that connection with your insurers and giving them a good service. Um, your background is very heavy in the technology side on in the insurance space. Is that what motivates you and gets you excited about working in insurance, the technology aspect of it, or is there more to it?
I think it's a little bit of both, right? So at the core of it is the continual innovation that happens in the insurance space, both on the product side and on the capability side. Um, in addition to that, it's the problem solving that that really gets me excited. From a customer perspective, it's, hey, I have a need for managing a risk. How can you help me? And it's a unique product, a unique situation. How do I help solve it? That's where my problem solving brain goes. On the other side, it's, hey, customers are having issues with making payments or getting in touch with us, or wanting to work with us more digitally, all of that stuff. And how do I apply technology to that problem set and fix that? So that's really what drives me. Is at the end of it is a changing landscape that continually changes. It's been starving for innovation for the last 20, 30 years. And
Mm-hmm.
right now is the time that it's actually peaking and actually changing drastically, transforming, I should say. And that's really where I get excited.
Excellent. So then, when did all coverage insurance bring Agave into the fold? When did you
Yeah,
guys start using them?
yeah. I think in 2022,
Okay.
right
21, I
after,
believe.
was it 21? It was
Yeah.
right after the first Hug conference.
Okay.
We
Yes.
met at the conference. Greg and I hit it off, and at that time I was looking for a payment processor. Like I said, we were on a modernization journey, so we worked with HawkSoft to implement a lot of their capabilities. We were, I think, utilizing maybe 10-20% of HawkSoft before I came in.
Mm-hmm.
Now we probably are peaking at the usage there, and we were also similarly looking for a payment processor because we were doing that in many different directions. And I think in part one, Greg mentioned the transition to agency bill. Um, you know, we were pretty heavy in agency bill. We went swayed towards more direct, and then now with the changing market, we're kind of looking at both options because we have to. Right, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of admitted business that's having to go to the non-admitted side, so we have to look for those options in the market, and therefore go down the agency bill path where Agave is instrumental in helping us do that.
Yeah, excellent. So when you were at that 2021 Hug National Conference, were you 2021 would have been San Diego?
San Diego?
Yes, San
Yeah.
Diego.
So in San Diego, did you get off the plane thinking I need to fix how we do payments, or was through the conversation with Greg is when you're like, oh, we're doing this, we could be doing this so much better. What were you looking for when you first encountered Agave?
So I got off the plane looking for a payment vendor. I actually had a hit list of different vendors that I wanted to go talk to fill gaps in our capabilities at all coverage. And so I evaluated a lot of payment vendors at the Hug conference that year. And, Agave stood out. There were a number of reasons why they stood out. One of them was Greg's personal depth in the insurance business. I think within like a week of us talking after that, I was like, hey, I got a gap for this coverage option for this carrier for transportation. You got any ideas? And he was like, oh, let me get you connected with this carrier. And I remember that was the turning point for me to say, oh, this is our guy. Not only does he have the capability, or does his solution have the capability to meet our needs, but he's got depth that can go beyond that solution to help us and really look after us from an after sales perspective. And so that's how we started with Agave. Part of the vetting process was they showed us a roadmap that when Agave will be integrating into HawkSoft when
Mm-hmm.
that capability exists. Here's what we envision Agave to have as part of that journey or as part of that capability, and we loved it. I mean, and so we're not there yet, but we're
Mm-hmm.
still going strong on that promise that once it's available, there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that we're hoping to unlock.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. One of my favorite things, and this is probably why Greg and I get along really well. One of my favorite things to do in the world is just make a connection. My brain is a wonderful collection of like the most useless information, but when I can take like random box A and connect it to random box B and make someone's life easier, that is the most satisfying thing I find in the world. And so I can totally appreciate how that would stand out as like, oh, this is a different type of relationship. This is not a transaction. This is someone who cares about my business.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, DJ mentioned something important. It helps, and I remember that conversation between us, and I can tell you who it was the carrier that we recommended that focuses in transportation. So we look at the partnership at HawkSoft and say, you may not be using me, but to Aditya's point, if you have a contact or a network that we've engaged with, we will make those warm intros and open up our resources to you as well, because we're a partner with HawkSoft. So let's help the agency, whether you're a client of ours or not. We still want to bring value into your community. So thank you for mentioning that, Aditya.
Welcome.
Yeah, I love that. Um, I I mention this saying every once in a while, but there's a donut shop in Portland, Oregon, and there's a lot of donut shops in Portland, Oregon. It's our thing. Um, and one of them, Pip's Donuts, they have this motto: "Community, not competition," and it's something that I try to live my life by because I think that we're just better together. We're better with these connections. Um, you know, I might have a rival in a technology space, but I'm still, if they're going to help an agency, I'm going to say you should go to them. But if they're going to help better than we can, so I love that. I really do appreciate that. Um, my next question that I'd love to explore, and we talked about it a little bit in part one about what's the thing that makes Agave stand out as a tool, as a partner to stay connected with. Um, from the agency perspective, I would love to know, what can your agency do now with Agave that you could not do before you brought them in?
Yeah. I think there are three aspects there that, I can clearly point to today. And then there are other aspects that we're going to get to in the immediate future and then unlock when HawkSoft is done. So from today perspective, we can process payments at a higher limit. That's one. I think we talked about that in part one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, before Agave, we had two different interfaces, two different systems for credit card processing and for ACHs. Reconciliation and management and data entry and all of that stuff was a nightmare. All of that got looped into one system. And then by the nature of that reporting, before we had to pull, how much do we charge through the credit card system? How much do we charge through ACH? How do we balance it? What invoices are outstanding? All that was just a nightmare. So having one central place to look for that data and pulling those reports really cut down the operational burden on my staff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's current. Tomorrow, Agave has a customer self-service portal that we are planning on going live with, so that our customers have the ability for making payments, whenever they want, 24/7, and they can do that so long as they have their invoice in front of them, they know what they need to pay, and they have an invoice number. In the future, what I'm hoping for once the integration is complete is having that data shared so
Mm-hmm.
that a customer can go on their website, on our website, type in their policy number, and be able to pull that information and be able to self-service more efficiently in that manner. So that's kind of the vision that I'm looking forward to with the integration. But the first two steps are immediate for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does your so the agency itself has been around since 2008, um, and introducing Agave is a recent addition. How has the team responded to shifting those workflows like that? How was that received and handled?
Yeah, they love it. Greg even had a soundbite on that, and one I sent Chris from my team to one of the Hug conferences because I couldn't go. I think they must have met, and that was unsolicited feedback that he gave. I didn't ask him to do that. And I didn't put those words in his mouth, right? It came from
Mm-hmm.
directly him, his cash flow and his reconciliation, because it's tied to his commissions, it's tied to his accounts receivable.
Mm-hmm.
All of that feeds into directly his pocket. So he's excited that Agave gives him that power to see all of that and to be able to manage that more efficiently.
Fantastic. Um, so in part one, we gave Greg a platform to provide some constructive criticism to the independent insurance agent role. And we like to, now that Aditya, you're in the hot seat, we like to give you the same opportunity. And I will expand this. This is not now. Granted, I've done this 2 episodes in a row now, but or 2 series in a row now. I'm going to expand this, and I give you full permission to also think about HawkSoft in the context of this question. I do not like to abuse my platform, but I think this is a space where I like to elevate agent voices. So, Aditya, if you could change one thing about Agave and or HawkSoft, if you could, what would that be?
Integration, one word.
Sure.
Honestly, there's so much opportunity with that capability. As I kind of hinted, I'll just go into it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, with the separation, my clients are better off, but they're not the best they could be. Let me
Mm-hmm.
explain. So,
Sure.
from a payments link perspective, they can have an option with Agave to where they can go in, put their own information in. They can set up their own ACHs for yearly ACHs for the carriers that we have gaps with, where they can't process a yearly ACH for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what they can't do is have it linked to their policy. What we can't do is have my operations team say payment was made and it's automatically in HawkSoft. It created a suspense to
Yeah.
close out the invoice, right? And so that integration gives that ability, because
Mm-hmm.
not only will customers be able to just go to my website, type in their policy number, type in their name, whatever, and be able to see, oh, there's an outstanding invoice, click on it and pay it. That's
Yep.
what I'm hoping that the integration from a customer perspective provides.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing on an annual basis. If their policy premium changes, right? I don't want it to be the same flat amount that comes out every year. I want, if it changes, then tomorrow Agave charges the new premium, so long as they have something in writing from a customer that, yes, I authorize the new
Mm-hmm.
premium amount. And then third is, once that payment is made, having that automatically go into HawkSoft and managed from that side, close out the invoice, close out all, everything that needs to be done.
Yep.
That right now somebody on my team has to manage to do that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a lot of opportunity that integration could provide. To the point that we talked about in part one about data privacy, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that you can still accomplish all of the things that HawkSoft does, and from a PCI DSS1 perspective, that we need to accomplish. Credit card data doesn't need to come into our agency or HawkSoft, so we're good there. From a customer data perspective, I, as the agent, is signing off in the marketplace within HawkSoft to say, hey, I want my data shared, right? So, from a HawkSoft data perspective and a individual agency perspective, it could be my choice if I
Yeah.
want to share that or not. So I think it still is a pretty harmonized approach if we do it that way.
Yeah, and I
That's
would
my
completely
personal. Yeah.
no, and I would completely agree with you. That's why I kind of opened it broadly. I think the one is something I Greg and I have had a lot of conversations about. Same with me having conversations with Greg's colleague Clint and many others in the financial services space. When we designed our partner API, which my day job is overseeing, this is me moonlighting in radio. So my day job is overseeing our partner API, and it was not designed with financial services in mind, but that has been the absolute biggest pain point over the last few years with our API and our integration capabilities. Is there's this key function of agency processes that we can't leverage that technology for. Um, I have to be careful how I say things because I don't want to get pulled into a black van by my own people. But what I can say is that we are making significant progress in that area. And our hope by the time this episode is out is that Greg's engineering department will have access to what they need to start that work, if not already deep into it, because it is something that is like very important to me. I never want to jeopardize my source of cool hats, but also helping agencies. It is one of those things where a good bookkeeper is worth their weight in gold. A bookkeeper's responsibility should not be micromanaging invoices and payment links and making sure that these things are all going out. That's, there is a front desk person probably has that responsibility, but with technology we should just be able to automate a lot of that. Through integrations we should be able to automate the ability to send out an invoice, for an insured to pay an invoice, for that to be documented back in your system of record in a safe and secure way. I completely agree with you there. It is definitely something that we need to work on, and it's a joint thing. HawkSoft is lagging in that, and it is a testament to all of our financial services partners, Agave included, that they haven't strung me up on my toes yet because we're this close. So we've kind of touched on it throughout these conversations, but I would really love to know, what is the value to you as an agency owner and as an insurance professional? What is the value that Agave is bringing into your agency?
Yeah. Um, I think we process 100% of our agency bill payments through Agave.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a clear number one driver. But as I said it before, in addition to that, the after sales support that we get with a lot of things that we need, the guidance that we need to help drive those 100% of payments through that portal, the insights that we get from the reporting on the back end, and the consolidated platform. I can't, before I came on board, when I say different platforms, let me explain what that means. So one was our bank had this platform, and it was like needed two-factor authentication with this special rotating pin that everybody forgot all the time. So that was one. And then on the credit card side, we literally had to take out the fax machine phone line, plug in the credit card machine phone line, put in the credit card in the thing, and run it that way. So that was our process before, and those receipts we kept as our reporting to at the end of the month to say what do we charge. So going from that to where we are,
Mm-hmm.
it's a night and day difference. We're at a different league. We're in a different league now, I should say. From that side, there's still a little bit of room. I'll use the same Kenny
Sure. Yeah.
measurement. A little bit of room
Yeah.
to really take it to the next level for us.
Um, you had mentioned, your focus in modernizing the agency is still maintaining that level of service and care for the insureds. So, as a kind of a follow up on this, because that's a huge change, changing how you process those payments, um, and how you service those customers. How do you maintain? Let me back up a second. Sometimes I think agents, Greg observed in the beginning that there's this like this is good enough mentality sometimes with agencies that are like, hey, this works, my customers are used to it, I can get the job done. In modernizing the agency and bringing Agave is probably a good example to work through with this. In modernizing the agency, um, how how are your customers responding to this change in technology, this change in process? Um, is it impacting how they feel the services? Is it in a positive or a negative way?
Yeah. So, I think for the customers, so it's a positive, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the way that we have implemented it is what's driving it. So, in any technology change, if you take away the old and then provide the new and force people to go that path, it creates a negative experience. What we've
Mm-hmm.
tried to balance with all of the technology that we've put in place is that we've kept the old way and we've streamlined it and then provided a new way for the folks that want it. So,
Gotcha.
I'll be more specific and say, now that we have the capability for taking payments through Agave, once we launch even the portal, we're not going to force people to say, hey, you have to go to the portal, right? We're going to provide that capability for the customers that are early adopters that want to do that. They get frustrated. Oh man, I got to call somebody and provide this information. I want to provide those people with a way to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
for the folks that aren't comfortable with that want to still have that experience, we have people that come to our office still every month and make payments on on their bills. It's crazy, but they do it. So much so that we moved to a new office, and I had to keep a Dropbox at the old office because the new office was too far away. So they still go to the old Dropbox and the old
Mm-hmm.
office location, drop the money in the Dropbox, and then send us an email, and then we go by and pick it up and bring it back. So it's very important as we change to not take away the old,
Sure.
to leave the customers that prefer the old way, leave them behind. But at the same time, we don't want that to be a drag on the
Mm-hmm.
customers that really are looking for that digital experience, that are going to the Geicos and the Progressives of the world. Like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they often shortchange their service. They often shortchange their coverage and prices that they get just for that experience. And so we want to be able to provide those folks the similar experience with better products.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought it was important that we explore that because I do. I probably didn't say it enough in part two, or part one. I really do agree with Greg's perspective that sometimes agents are like, "You guys are so busy." I have never met professionals that are more busy than agency owners, insurance agents, especially right now in this hard market. So I really appreciate that you're taking the care to say, like, we're modernizing this. We're not going to leave these customers behind that we really want to drop off their checks in person. And I think a lot of agents can recognize that, especially with more mature agencies. So thank you for providing that perspective because I want people to understand that you can implement technology and maintain a little bit of the old way to ensure that those legacy customers are taken care of, but you're going to gain a lot by implementing these new processes.
When I hear that though, Kenny and Aditya, makes me twitch a little bit when I hear people dropping at a box, somebody going to get it, an email going over.
I'm telling you,
I,
it's still the way.
I know, but
And
to Kenny's point, though, it's awesome that you accommodate them because it
yeah,
shows the value of that client,
yeah,
right? And we have folks equally do some things, but
yeah,
I hear it.
yeah. I mean, when we, in seriousness, when we thought about, what do we do in that situation?
Yeah.
We looked at the longevity of those clients, right? They were with my dad before
Wow.
he started this agency. They came over from the two other hops that he made, right? They're loyal, diehard customers. And so why would I leave them behind when they didn't leave us behind? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Great point.
so, and the reason we have the Dropbox is it's not even a check, it's cash,
Oh.
right? Yeah. It's like, there,
What's the
and
address?
yeah, yeah. It's that. Yeah, but
Mhm.
they're personal lines clients. It's like
Yeah.
$100 a month, $200 a month. It's stuff like that. But I'm never going to do that because they've been with us through all of that. Why would I leave them for
Yeah.
such a minor thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
can still implement new technology while supporting those clients.
yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Great
I've
philosophy.
I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversations over these two episodes. Aditya, it's great to reconnect. We have had some great conversations in person before, but it's been a while since I've had the pleasure of speaking with you. So thank you so much for joining us here today and taking time away from the agency to talk to us. Greg, thank you so much for your contributions in part one and joining the conversation here in part two. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the video description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching, and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives podcast. Thank you.